Greetings to everyone. My name is Natalia Shpilka and I'm one of the co-founders of the Waldorf School Borysfen in Kyiv, Ukraine. I'd like to tell you a small story of how we and our students keep our school afloat in the Carpathian Mountains, the school that we had evacuated from Kyiv to be able to work and study in peace and quiet. On the 24th of February, we suddenly found ourselves in panic, surrounded by chaos. And within just a week, the school was actually at the front line. Our Waldorf School Borysfen that was created by the teachers and parents. The school that used to be their second home, dear and warm for their hearts, found itself in danger. Because the Russian troops advanced quickly towards the Kiev region, and Borysfen is located in Kiev suburbs. And at that time, it was just 10 kilometers away from the front line and the occupied territory. The school and some of our families were in danger. Some fled on the very first days. Others hoped that everything would finish very soon. Those were the children and parents who found themselves on the occupied territory. It was much scary. We lived in fear for them, desperately trying to contact when the mobile connection was occasionally on. Just very rare messages or calls. We tried to find ways to help our people get out of there. We lived in getting our people out for a few months, because not all the teachers and parents managed to evacuate. We were extremely anxious for the people from our school. Already in March, I became aware of a number of crises our school was living through. One of them was the crisis of ideas. A Waldorf teacher normally has so many ideas that you can't implement all of them. I have just no idea where they come from. But it was extremely different in March. We didn't have any idea of what we could do. Nothing. At the beginning of March, we still hoped that it would end soon, maybe in summer. By the end of March, we realized that it would last long, and every month brought us stronger awareness of that. We needed to determine within that paradigm where is everybody and where is the school. For those who fled abroad, it was hard to live in uncertainty for long, and it was obvious that they needed to take root, as we say it in Ukrainian, which is to set up a new home for their children. And this decision is hard to make. For those who stayed in Ukraine, the main question that arose was how. How to survive a random missile attack, how to secure your income and a workplace. We faced endless insecurity and a wide range of everyday challenges. One of the first ideas that came up to us in order to keep our school community alive and functioning was to have a summer school camp. It was 6 months after the war started when we organized our summer camp. We chose the Carpathian Mountains as a location because it is a relevantly safer and quieter place than our Kyiv school location that was under constant threat. But most of our students were out of Ukraine. They were all over Europe seeking safety. We had very few children in Ukraine to organize that camp for. After we talked to our parents and told them about the idea of a summer camp, and that the teachers who mostly stayed in Ukraine were willing to go back to their normal school life, and when we discussed it with the parents, we discovered that a lot of families of our community were about to go back to Ukraine. Each family had definitely many other reasons besides the school to go back, but our school was one of the reasons, and the families told us about it. And what we were doing and why we were doing it started to make sense. At the same time, coming back home, the families faced financial problems. The budget of almost all the families was devastated, uncertain, and very limited. We couldn't ask them to pay the full price for the camp. So we realized that we would not be able to organize a camp if we don't apply for financial help to benefactors. We were blessed to find the benefactors and receive the funding for the camp. Those were a big Christian community and some individuals that kindly agreed to donate us. Due to their contribution, we did have the camp. In summer, a lot of our students, their families, and their friends came to the camp. In the Carpathian Mountains, where it's calm and quiet, where there's minimal threat, we managed to create a real therapeutic oasis of peace and safety. The Waldorf pedagogy has plenty of methods that are helpful in situations of trauma and crisis. In the situation where we found ourselves in the first months of the war, for us, that was a month of recovery during the war. Getting everything ready for our summer camp, we realized that we must get ready for peace and do what we can with peace, in peace, and for peace itself. We decided that we would go back to face-to-face teaching in September. Approximately half of our students returned to our school, a bit less than 50. Another half is still abroad. We do not know when they are coming back and how they are going to do it, because it is again very, very unsafe in Ukraine. Danger has raised much. There are more and more threats. When we made the decision to go back to Kyiv, it had been free of missile attacks for several months. That made us dare come back. But quite soon, on October the 10th, the intense massive attacks and shelling started. Within a week, the attacks repeated. And we realized that it would be our new reality in Kyiv when we would have missile attacks with a certain frequency. We realized that it was not a war but terrorism. It became hard to seek for safety in Kyiv. Teaching children turned out to be a challenge with constant air raids, sirens, hiding in the bomb shelter at lesson time. There's one thing about our school as an alternative one, that families who choose our school come from different districts of the city, close to school and far from it. Some children need transfer to school because they can't get there by themselves, which became extremely dangerous and put their parents in the situation where they don't know whether to let the child go to school in the morning or not, whether the attack happens or not. And in case of an attack when a child is on the way to school, what should the parent and the child do? Who's going to help the child? A lot of questions arose. We switched over to online study, but it brought no results, because power outages happened more and more often as a result of missile attacks on electricity infrastructure. Once in a while, some students had electricity, others didn't. The other time, the teacher might have no electricity while the students had it. Online study was thus disabled. We realized if we let chaos and panic overcome us again, we would lose even more of our students. Thus, it would not be clear if we could restore our school and study ever, for we had no idea of how longer it would last. There was no more front line close to the school, no occupation of this territory, but there was and there is terrorism that seems to have no end. So the teachers offered our parents to move our school to a safer place, where there had been no missile attacks by that time, where the education process was easier to organize. We had all the support from our parents. They entrusted us with their children, and we moved to the Carpathians together with our students for almost 2 months. We taught and took care of our children 24/7. We were not just their teachers there. We brought them up as if their dads and moms too, because children sometimes got unwell, different situations occurred where we needed to interfere or talk to them. We did our best to keep the usual rhythm of life for our children, following the traditional Waldorf calendar, by celebrating seasonal festivals which children were looking forward to. Winter festivals period started, and we did arrange these festivals there. We were determined to live our normal lives in peace as much as possible, but it required huge personal effort and commitment to keep peace in our hearts and minds among the chaos, terror, and war. Not all of our families were able to go to the Carpathian Mountains with us. The ones with the young children had to stay in Kyiv because they couldn't abandon their jobs, and at the same time couldn't let their little ones live without their parents in the Carpathians. Therefore, two of our teachers agreed to stay in Kyiv despite permanent danger of missile attacks. We have a facility that normally operates as our preschool and has a basement that can be used as a bomb shelter. So teachers get there together with children during attacks. These families that stay in Kyiv live not far from the school, so they can bring their children to school and get to work. That was their choice. Our school is now split in half. Operating on two locations that are far from each other makes our internal communication quite complicated and has its impact on our work and the whole organism of our school. Our children miss their parents, our teachers miss their homes. Living through this situation is emotionally hard for everyone, because we have already been under lots of emotional attacks these days. If you look at it closely, all the children and families who stay at our school at the moment don't want to flee the country. Some of them have already had the experience of seeking safety in other countries, but preferred to go back to their home. Some of them haven't and are reluctant to leave their country. We just want to be together. We Borysfen teachers also want to be in our country and do not want to leave it. We want to be here, in our country, in our culture, in our native language environment. We don't want to surrender to terrorism and terrorists, don't want to give up and be forced to abandon our land. We are confident and calm about our being here. At the same time, we must provide a safer space for our children to study. All our school recovery projects since the beginning of the war have been funded by benefactors from different European countries, both individuals and big charity funds. There were two Christian community funds that sponsored our summer camp and a month of our autumn school camp in the Carpathians. We are very grateful to the friends of Waldorf Education, of Rudolf Steiner Association, that has been supporting us from the very beginning and helped our teachers to keep their jobs and our school going. At the beginning of the war, the financial support was sufficient enough, but over time it has gradually become smaller. The funds available are obviously not enough for everyone in need. The range and the scale of the problems we are facing require even more financial support of individuals and funds. Unfortunately, we can't rely on our own little resources, and we must reach out for help in order to be able to continue working with our students. We could just be on vacation, but that's not what we would like. We would like to work with the students face to face, to find a safe and quiet place for them to provide them with what they need, good education. In order to do that, we need support. We are calling for help to everyone who sympathizes with Ukrainians in their distress, who would like to support children because they are always the future. We need to pay rent, salaries to our teachers, to purchase electricity generators and the fuel for those generators. These things are crucial for our survival as a school. We would be extremely grateful if you could make any contribution that would allow us to go on, because we are not going to stop working. But the future looks very uncertain and carries a lot of dangers for us. We can't make any long-term plans. A lot of Ukrainian and European war experts predict that Russia might try to seize Kiev once again, which contributes even more to the uncertainty and instability of the situation we are in. The only thing we are certain about is our determination to keep working and not to give up. Due to the support of those who we could reach out, we still exist as a school, and we are so much grateful for their contribution. It's really hard to put it into words. It's like being grateful to someone for life. It's hard to verbalize what you feel when you're grateful to someone for life, but we do feel this gratitude to the people whose help gives us a possibility to live our lives to the fullest. We are grateful to everybody who would like to join the group of our supporters and benefactors. This video is meant for showing you how important it is for us and our students, and showing some bits and pieces of our life and how your help is shaping it and makes it better. Thank you very much.